welcome to this special Yellow Live webinar where we're going to talk about how you can grow your business with search engine marketing. And joining me today on the panel is our Digital Capability Manager, Michael Watkins. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks for having me, Christian.
Now, this is, of course, a live webinar, which you would have just seen that we've had a slight glitch and a little bit of a delay there, but we're on now, which is great. So, welcome and thank you for joining us. We do have people from all over the country joining us with a representative from our Yellow sales team to help support you wherever you are. Now, because this is live, there is a thread on YouTube, so if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask those as we go, and one of our team members will be ready to respond. So let's get into it. Michael, we're talking about search engine marketing today.
Yeah.
Search engine marketing, of course, is things like AdWords, Yahoo have products, Bing have products. Search engine marketing. Tell us about why small business should even start to consider this for their advertising mix.
Look, search engine marketing is one of the most direct ways you can get customers to connect with your business. One of the things I love about search engine marketing, which we'll obviously talk to today, is you have so much control with it. So it's pretty clever on what we can do today to drive more business to small businesses.
Okay, so if we took a step back a little bit, maybe only 5 or 10 years ago, marketing for a business used to be quite simple. You could have an open sign, maybe a business card, an ad in the yellow pages, and your phone would ring. But today things have become more and more complex, and there are so many different ways for people to sort through and reach their consumer, right?
Absolutely. There are lots and lots of different options out there. And one of the questions that we often get is, what's the right option for me? What's going to get the best result for my business? Because at the end of the day, it's all about making you money.
Yeah, for sure. I want to show another illustration now, which is all about the different options that can help drive traffic to a website. So, Michael, there's a few different ways that a business should be thinking about this, and we're going to narrow in really on one topic today, which is search engine marketing. But things like Facebook, search engine optimization, having a good Google presence, or even a directory listing, all play into this presence in how a website appears, right?
Yeah, I think it's key here to always remember that most things run through your website. So yes, there's lots of different channels out, and we're going to talk about search engine marketing and how that can help your business today, but you also need to do that hand in hand with your website.
Yeah, of course. Now, how are people using search? So in terms of consumers and businesses, what are they doing?
They're using search much more often, much more frequently, and more directly when they're wanting to research businesses and services, and also transact with businesses and services. And I think that's been a big change over the years. The numbers are staggering. So the search and directories advertising revenue that happens in Australia every year is now at $3.5 billion. So there's a lot of businesses getting a lot of traction from these channels.
Yeah. Now, of course, when it comes to the search engine results page, and sometimes you'll hear people refer to that as the SERP page. So this is the page that appears on the screen after you hit the search button. 91.5% of people never scroll past the first page.
Absolutely. You will not get a result on page 2 anymore. And to that point, because people are so time poor, you really need to be at the top of the first page of Google or Bing or Yahoo.
Yeah. So the average Australian today spends something like 24 to 25 hours per week on the internet. And search is one of those things that consumes a huge amount of time as we're looking up all sorts of different things. A little earlier, Terry, our National Sales Manager, caught up with Google. Let's take a look at that now.
My name's Terry Kennedy. I'm the National Sales Manager at Yellow. I'm joined today by Kristen Harmon. Kristen's our Account Manager across Australia and New Zealand, working for Google. We're here today to talk about, it's talked about many different times, search engine marketing, SEM, AdWords, search words. You may have heard about a few different names, but we're here today to talk about search words in particular and some of the top tips from Google. So welcome, Kristen.
Thank you.
So recent research reveals that a vast majority of our consumers start their search online today. With this in mind, what are Google's top tips when it comes to search engine marketing or AdWords?
Sure. So Google's #1 mission is to bring information to the world. So, and whatever way we can do that. So you know that we've got search, we've got Google Maps, we've got all the different products to help collate that information. So the way that users and advertisers can embrace Google's products to use it to its advantage is to be relevant and bring relevant information to their users. So if you think about it in the sense that you have a product to sell or a service to offer, and the end user has a problem that needs to be solved. So think about, does your product, firstly, are you able to solve their problem? Secondly, are you in a location where you're able to service them? And thirdly, are you able to provide them a quick and seamless solution? If yes to all three of those questions, that is exactly where you will be able to use Google to the best benefit for your business to reach the right audience at the right ROI for you.
Thank you. Second question. The majority of Australians now use their mobile phones very frequently, often more than 150 times a day. I know for me it's probably more. With that in mind, are there specific tips that can assist businesses when it comes to mobile search and maximising their conversions?
Definitely. So there's two main tips with mobile advertising that needs to be done. The first one, if they haven't already, definitely have a mobile-friendly website. So if you don't have a mobile-friendly website, if someone clicks on your ad and then comes to a desktop site and can't navigate it and it's clunky and slows them down, they're going to be more likely to bounce off your site and you've just lost that one customer. So to make sure that your website is mobile friendly, if you just Google mobile friendly test, a Google tool will come up that will allow you to put your URL into Google and it will tell you how mobile friendly your site is. If your site is performing poorly, I'd recommend you talk to your web developer or your Yellow account manager will be able to help you with this as well. So that's just one tip. So the second tip, so having a mobile friendly website is no longer enough. So users have become increasingly frustrated and want things quickly. So if speed thrills, friction then kills. So 40% of users will bounce off a website if it takes longer than just 3 seconds to load. So if you have a mobile website, that's great, but if it takes 20 seconds to load, then you're still going to lose that user. So the next mission that we have at Google is to make sure that your website has a fast page speed. So there's a tool called Test My Site. If you Google again, Test My Site, and your Yellow account manager will be able to help you with this. It'll tell you how fast your website is loading in real time and what improvements you can make to speed that up. So I definitely recommend you do those two things.
Great, thank you. Is there anything on the horizon that we need to be aware of that small business should be looking out for?
Yes, so as I said before around page speed, that's going to become even more important. So at Google, our mission is to bring the most relevant information to users and to make that a quick and seamless process as well. If a user is coming to our site and seeing a link and clicking on it, and then it takes 20 or 30 seconds to load, that's not a good experience for our users. So because of that, we're going to give preference, as we did a couple of years ago, we gave preference to use websites that were mobile friendly if a user was searching on mobile. We're also going to take the page speed into account as well. So making sure that not only your desktop has a fast loading page load time, but also your mobile site is increasingly important. So that change will probably see the most impact from July this year onwards. So please make sure you test My Site and see what your page speed is and try get it at least below 7 seconds.
So what's that line again? If speed thrills, friction kills.
Yes.
Love it. AdWords can be a little tricky to manage. What are the benefits of using a Google Premier Partner?
So at Google, we like to change things all the time. We're not very friendly to our users like that. Especially if you're doing search engine advertising. We're always innovating, adding new products and features that you can take advantage of in your campaign. Whilst that is all happening and you're trying to run your small business, it can be impossible to keep on top of it and take advantage of everything Google has to offer. Whereas if you use Yellow for the solution, that's their full-time job to keep up with the product updates that we push out. And also, being a Premier Partner, they have a direct line of contact with us so that we are constantly telling them of these changes that are about to happen. So they are the ones who know first when these changes are going to be implemented so that they can get your campaigns ready for when that happens. Whereas if you were managing this yourself, you would have to, you'd have to keep up to date to know that this thing was happening. So the main benefit is definitely having this company that does this as their full-time job, keeping on top of everything to make sure your campaign's taking advantage of everything it can. The second thing as well is that being a Premier Partner, they get exclusive information about the insights that we have on our side that we're able to offer Premier Partners. We do live trainings with them every couple of months to keep them up to date and their knowledge fresh, and also offer product betas and additional tests that you wouldn't get if you were the ordinary user. So if you partner with a Premier Partner, you often get access to a lot of those features that only Premier Partners have.
In summary, before starting AdWords, be as relevant, as specific as you can be. Think about, are my products and services able to solve the specific user's problem? Am I close enough location-wise, or am I able to service this user from afar? Could I provide a seamless and or possible quick solution to this user? That's what you need to do before starting AdWords. And then speed. I like that if speed thrills, friction kills. So having a mobile optimised site is not enough. It needs to be speedy, and you can do that through various methods that you mentioned before. And I think the key out of that was you said 40% of users will abandon a website if it takes over 3 seconds to load. So it's really, really important. And I think on the horizon for Google, you were saying that we're now going to start, the priority will be given to those with a mobile, not only mobile friendly, but it needs to be mobile, the speed needs to be optimised, and you'll have preference over those websites. And that's an algorithm change that's happening later this year, I believe. So the main benefit of using a Premier Partner is that it's our full-time job to keep up to date with the latest changes and features and products, and ensure our campaign is always up to date and has every feature possible. And I know from first hand that it's very hard to keep that Premier Partner badge, and we certainly try our best to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Well, Michael, there were some really great tips there from Google, right? So some of the key things that I guess I took from it were around relevancy, making sure that people have great content on their website and it connects. They talked about mobile friendly, and the tip there from Google, of course, was to go and search for mobile friendly test, and you can test that. And then the big one was speed, right? So they actually were giving us their advice around some future changes.
Yeah, look, it's this is going to be a really big year for algorithmic changes to mobile speed, and as Google partners ourselves, we often have this conversation with Google Direct, and it's good that we are able to be on top of it so that we know what's coming next. It's really important that we help guide you to make sure that you can navigate Google, because I like her comment that Google doesn't make this easy. It's continually changing, and it's our job to help support you through that changing landscape.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit now more, Michael, about actually, I guess, the marketing stack, right? So there are lots of different solutions that people can select from. So let's talk about where search engine marketing fits in, and we're going to put a graph on the screen to help illustrate this. So if you think about the buying funnel, there's different things that people will do before they actually make a purchase. So they need to create awareness, there's consideration phase, the preference phase where somebody will make a choice, and then of course the purchase, right? And then a frequency at the end. But where does search engine marketing fit in this stack?
Yeah, well, I think to point out on this diagram, and it's a bit of a complex one, right? But the consumer buying stages hasn't changed for over 100 years. But what you do in each of those stages has. So what we look at when we're looking at search is a great way to connect people with your business who are in the awareness phase, so they can see your business more often. The other part is the transaction phase. So when people are ready to buy, they often turn to Google and turn to whatever's on page 1 to make that decision. And you want to make sure you're on that page.
All right, let's take a look at an example of a page now. So the search engine results page can be a little bit tricky, and even here the different search engines have been changing the look and feel. So we've got an example on the screen here from Google. What do people see on the page?
It's a whole heap of websites or ads, and to your point, over the years you might remember there was a yellow box around it, and then they went to yellow little ad spots, and they're going to continually change that. And to be honest, a lot of people who use Google don't pay too much attention to if it's an ad or not. They pay attention to what they're looking for and whatever it is saying to them. So the ads are at the top in that yellow section. On Google you have 4 spots. So when you look at mobile devices, often you don't see anything but ads on that first page before you scroll.
Let's do some myth busting on the page, Michael. So one of the things that people will often ask us is around positioning. So Google often refers to relevancy, but can you give us some more insights? How are the ads ranked and the determination of what actually appears at the top? So we see different ads, often we see the 4 or the 3 or the 1, and we see them down the bottom. How does Google determine the positioning of those advertisements?
It's all about having the right ad at the right time with the right business. So what we look at and when we optimize campaigns is, yes, you bid, and there's strategic elements around how you bid in the auction system that we look after. It also looks at the historical success of the ad. So by having a campaign that is well organised and has been running with success, makes it even easier to be successful in the future. And the other big part of it is around the relevancy component itself. What is the consumer looking for, and what are you saying? So that doesn't just mean the ad itself with the blue text. It also means on your website, what happens once they click as well. And is that relevant?
So another common one, so you're saying to us that it's not just price, right?
It's much, much more than price. Price is the easy part. It's more about the relevancy and getting the right ad and strategy in front of the eyeballs.
All right. We're going to take a look at a customer from Essential Fire Services now, Rod from Essential Fire Services, sharing some of his experience with search engine marketing.
I'd like to introduce Rod from Essential Fire Safety Services. So Rod's been in business for about 15 years and started out in 2002 doing testing and tagging, and has now moved into being a full service provider of fire and safety services. So thanks for joining us, Rod.
It's a pleasure.
In business, how have you found the ways that your customers have changed looking for you?
Oh, they've changed immensely since we started. I go back to the old yellow pages, and people would just sort of flip through the book to find them, whereas nowadays, I mean, there's a host of ways that people can search you out. So they're more, I suppose, they can define very much clearly what they actually want, and be able to do that via the internet and get the service provider of their choice.
Okay, so you'd say it's predominantly on the internet now that consumers are searching for you. And what's been the biggest challenge for your business in making that change?
Probably me, to a certain extent, because I'm old school, and as I said before, I'm technologically illiterate, so a lot of it was new, and it took a long time for me to actually be changed across, or converted, so to speak. But from our business point of view, we had to change because the old ways weren't working, and as I said, people were now moving over to the internet, and that was the way of the future. And like it or lump it, we had to change, and change we did.
And so you commenced doing some Google AdWords through Centre Search Ads about 2 years ago. And what you mentioned before was you were looking for different ways for search for customers. What made you change?
Okay, well, we were trying, because it's the business that we work in the old days we would go out and cold call, and that sort of, those days are gone. So we were trying to look at how we could attract new customers, because you need to keep building on your customer base. And it was brought to us by our census rep that Google AdWords, or putting in specific words where people could sort of lock onto that word and search, was the way to go. So we let our rep at the time go with it, and yeah, the results have been quite outstanding actually. And
why didn't you do this yourself, Rod?
Oh, it's too hard, and I didn't understand it. It's simple.
That's probably the same for a lot of our customers in terms of that. That's why you would outsource a campaign. And what type of customers are you getting now from your AdWords campaign?
Well, we're getting quite a varied vast cross-section of different sorts of businesses and different sorts of entities looking for our services. So whereas prior to this we probably concentrated on one specific fields, and one of them at that stage was aged care, and that seemed to be an area we could work at, we're doing very well in. But obviously you've got to expand your horizons. So this campaign actually brought in customers from different businesses, so we're sort of now we're into commercial and industrial, hotels. We run the full gamut.
If you can, before the interview today, you were telling me about through search ads you come across a hotel.
Yes.
Tell us that story. That was cool.
Yes, so, he's actually turned out to be a very good friend of mine, this gentleman. But he rang up, he came through search ads, and the thing was basically he had a hotel in St Kilda, and he was looking for someone to perhaps look after his essential services. When I looked at it and thought it was a hotel in St Kilda, I thought, oh, do I really want to? And I didn't really act upon it, which was not good, but for a while. But he kept persisting, and eventually I made contact with him, went to visit his hotel, and it was a 5-star hotel in St Kilda, so it wasn't a divey hotel that I thought. It was actually it was part of a national or an international chain, and they've become one of my biggest clients now. So yes, so I can say it works very well.
Yeah. And I mean, that's great. And how valuable would you say customers are from that media?
Oh, the gold, the gold. You know, we've got customers that we never thought of, or we never thought we'd be able to do, or never even actually entered our minds in requiring our services. So, and we've made not only some really good business relationships, but we've actually made some relationships, good friendship relationships with those people as well. So, and some of them, you know, they're still with us, those clients. So, yeah.
And what would you say to other businesses that are looking at doing search engine marketing?
I think certainly from the point of view Census and the Census rep, or Evelyn, who's our rep, what she brought to the table for us has been excellent, and I can only recommend them that that's the way to go.
Rod, recently, about 6 months ago, you upgraded your campaign. Can you tell us why you did that?
Evelyn suggested that basically we needed to, our web page, our website needed to be updated. It had been getting a bit stale, and also some more keywords to basically attract them. We were defining a bit too, because we were getting some inquiries that weren't really relevant to the areas we work in. So we refined that, but predominantly also to give us some more keywords and to update our web page.
And so you're now targeting a larger area?
Yes, we're covering a larger area, and we're more defining through it. We're defining that search or the clientele, the leads that we're getting. So, and I think it's working really well. And our web page is nearly completed. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. But the changes that have taken place so far, I can't complain. It's working.
Anything else you'd like to add today, Rodney?
No, except I'm very happy with it, and yeah, hopefully it'll keep going on.
Well, thanks, Rod, and thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure.
I think one of the things, Michael, that I picked up in the conversation just then with Rod was about how complex search engine marketing is and how we can simplify it. So talk to us a little bit about managing and setting up a campaign. What should people do or be aware of? You know, what would you say there?
Start? Yeah, absolutely. The first part to think about is, what are you trying to achieve? So most businesses have a few different products and services that they could be selling. Which one's your priority? What do you know about your customer? We have a unique advantage where we have some really impressive tech that we use,
yes,
but we have to back that tech up with real people who know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have our conversations, it's really about goals, and then it's test and learn. So we'll continue to optimize the campaigns, leveraging on what we see from the tech side of it, which is generally the bidding component, but also making sure the experts are optimizing based on relevancy and the reporting that we get from the program.
Yeah. So Michael, you touched on that we're one of Google's premier partners here in Australia. We've been a partner of Google for almost 10 years now. We've had a relationship with Google from a commercial sense since 2007. When we started to power their map listings here in Australia. So why should somebody choose Census and Yellow to be managing their search engine marketing campaign?
Yeah, we've always had an interest in helping small businesses connect with their customers, and that's why when anything new comes out, we're on top of it. One of the reasons why we think we are best suited for small businesses because of our scale, but also we have small businesses at our heart. So with search engine marketing, the complexity used to mean that you used to have big budgets, you'd have to do lots and lots of testing. Our scale is actually an advantage for our customers, and we can leverage those learnings to continually make sure everyone's getting the results they're looking for.
Michael, can you describe for some of the small customers that are viewing this today just how important the technology is and the platforms that we use to make sure that we're optimising the program? And I think that's probably one of the edges that allows us to understand the whole market, right? Which may be difficult for a smaller provider.
Yeah, I'll give you a really good example. Over a year ago now, and many of their viewers would remember when Google removed the right-hand side ads. You know, that threw the SEM community into chaos, and we saw across internationally, most cost per clicks went up because everything was being forced into the top of the search results. There was nothing else on the right.
And just describe that. So when we say cost per click, we mean when an ad appears, nobody pays, but when somebody clicks on an ad, there is a ticket price, I guess.
Yeah, one of the unique advantages of search engine marketing is you only pay when consumers interact with what they see. So it becomes very efficient in that. But by removing the right-hand side ads, it meant that campaigns, it was more competitive.
Yes.
So what we found was because our algorithms and our technology was there to protect us, and we had so much historical data, while the rest of the world's cost per clicks were going up, ours weren't. In fact, our cost per click on average remained a little bit lower than the industry average during that period, which is a great sign of how the technology, when matched with experts, can be the success factor.
Now, we've talked about Google a fair bit, but the Yellow Pages search offering doesn't just include Google, right?
No, we're across all players. So Bing is one to watch in Australia in particular. In America at the moment, you're looking at about 30% market share for Bing ads. What we find in Australia is they've grown a lot with their devices. They're now about 14%. One of the things with Bing is if you have to manage it yourself, that's another whole heap of effort. Whereas if you do it through a partner like Census and Yellow, we will do it for you.
And Bing has, somewhere around 11 to 15% of the market share now in Australia.
Yep, a slightly higher conversion rate in the areas where it does get good traffic, and definitely a cost efficiency for our customers as well. The cost per click on Bing is generally cheaper than a cost per click on Google, and we want to leverage that where we can get that traffic.
Great, thanks Michael. So when it comes to search engine marketing, it's important to understand that it's all about making sure that customers can connect with you super quick. So I guess our two takeaways would be that making sure that you can take those micro moments, the moments that matter online, and get a conversion in 2 seconds or 2 clicks. And really that's what search engine marketing is about, is making it easy for people to connect with the most relevant provider.
Yep, absolutely. And the key to that speed also, as you heard from Google, is around mobile too. So remember, if you're investing anywhere in driving traffic to your website, you want to make sure that you have that end of funnel conversion optimized as well.
Definitely. So Michael, any final comments from yourself?
No, I think that's a big key. 2 seconds, 2 clicks. Think about your customer. It's the customer journey that will give you the clues on how we can help you deliver the best campaign.
Great. And I guess that's the key, right? So for all small businesses, their unique needs will be very different. So if you'd like to talk a little bit more about how search engine marketing can help support your business, reach out to your Yellow Media advisor who can tailor a package or a program that meets your needs, and they'll be more than happy to help you. Of course, our team is watching the YouTube thread at the moment, so if you have any comments, we'll keep that open for a little while and answer your questions. And of course, our call centre team here in Melbourne is always willing and ready to help you as well. So thank you for joining us for this Yellow live webinar from our Melbourne head office. Of course, it's a Friday, so I'm sure you're looking forward to the weekend just like us. So take care. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.